Alright, what's up everybody? So, we are continuing on reading Love and War, Finding the Marriage You've Dreamed Of by John and Stasi Eldredge. We are on chapter 5. Chapter 5 is titled, More Than Just Roommates. Opening quote, "The companion of an evening and the companion for life require very different qualifications." Samuel Richardson. We are on page 73. Today is the 25th anniversary of our marriage. Now that the pressure has been lifted off the day, I, John, am looking forward to it. I want it to be rich and beautiful. Sam, our eldest, away for his second year at college, just texted me from Los Angeles International Airport. He is on his way home for our party tonight. Flowers have arrived. Decorations will soon be hung. Stacy's sister just sent us something that I think might be a bird bath. I'm guessing Stacy will understand the gift. Anyhow, preparations are in full swing. I've pulled out the card I bought for Stacy, and I am wondering what in heaven's name do I write in it? How do you even begin to find the words to speak to 25 years of life together? I'm floundering a bit with what to say. I bought a blank card because I would prefer to write my own message. Not every guy is like this. I'm a writer, for heaven's sake, so cut him some slack, ladies. But this is almost an impossible task. I have been married to Stacy for more than half of my life. We have lived more of our years together than we have lived apart. If you take childhood out of the equation, we have lived nearly all of our adult years together. We have, in so many ways, grown up together. Page 74. In the early hours of this morning, I was sitting here thinking, what is it I have most enjoyed with Stacy? What is it I would say has been her greatest gift to me? What am I most grateful for? The question helped me find my way. It drew me to the core, the real substance of our marriage, companionship. Don't get me wrong, I love passion, romance, and sexual intimacy. Eros is intoxicating, but Eros does not a marriage make. The richest part, the daily goodness, is companionship. Who else is always there at the end of the day, every day? Who else is with you in the dark hours of the night? Who else is by your side in joy and sorrow? No one but your spouse even comes close to sharing your life. There's a scene we both love in the movie Shall We Dance? The story is about a marriage that has not so much fallen on hard times as fallen into the doldrums of routine. The wife fears her husband might be having an affair. She hires a private detective to find out what he's up to. It turns out that he's spending his Wednesday nights taking ballroom dancing lessons. She tells the detective she no longer needs his services. He is intrigued by her devotion to her husband, and they have this parting conversation. Wife: why is it, do you think, that people get married? Detective: passion. Wife: no. Detective: that's interesting, because I would have taken you for a romantic. Why then? Wife: because we need a witness to our lives. There's a billion people on the planet. I mean, what does any one life really mean? But in marriage, you're promising to take care of everything, the good things, the bad things, the terrible things, the mundane things, all of it, all the time, every day. You're saying your life will not go unnoticed because I will notice it. Your life will not go unwitnessed because I will be your witness. I will be your witness. I will be your companion. Through thick and thin, page 75. The good and the bad, in sickness and in health, we are in this thing together. Isn't this the essence of what God was expressing when he said, it is not good for man to be alone, Genesis 2:18. But of course, passion comes and goes like thunderstorms. Romance blossoms like night-blooming flowers. Companionship is far more steady, more day in and day out, like the presence of God. Lo, I am with you always. We promised that in our vows, didn't we? I am here to stay. It might not have the drama that sexual passion offers, but how was your day might be the most beautiful gift a marriage offers. Waiting to and wanting to hear the answer conveys your life matters, your life has meaning. C.S. Lewis poses a really compelling question when he asks couples if they would rather have eros or companionship. Suppose you are fortunate enough to have fallen in love with and married your friend. And now suppose it possible that you were offered the choice of two futures. Either you two will cease to be lovers but remain forever joint seekers of the same God, the same beauty, the same truth, or else losing all that, you will retain as long as you live the raptures and ardors, all the wonder and the wild desire of eros. Choose which you please. Which should we choose? Which choice should we not regret after we had made it? C.S. Lewis, The Four Loves. Hopefully, we are never forced to make this choice. May God grant us the blessing of sharing both all our lives. But if I had to choose, without a doubt, I would choose companionship. I am an older man now. In my younger days, I might have chosen eros and regretted it later. Page 76. Companionship is far more the actual brick and mortar of two lives lived together. Companionship is the glue that allows a marriage to make it, not just through the hard times, but make it in the sense of finding your way to something rich together. Subtitle, Belonging to Each Other. And the two shall become one. Genesis 2:24. In the heart of every human being lies the desire to belong. It is primordial, primeval, linked somewhere in our deep memory to our need for survival. To be the outcast is to be sentenced to death. To be shunned is the worst form of punishment. Solitary confinement is used to break prisoners. In our modern world, when we are deemed unworthy, physical gates do not bar us from the safety of our community, but the gates are closed to us none the less. All of us have known the cruelty of middle school cliques, high school cliques, college cliques, and ministry cliques. Some have experienced the terrifying power of psychological bullying, mean girls, ruthless boys. Did you make the team, the squad, the court? Do you fit in? How many friends are on your Facebook page? Did you get asked to the dance? Did she say yes? Is your picture in the yearbook more than once? Did you get accepted, asked, invited? Are you in or are you out? Life is meant to be shared. We are supposed to feel in. We are meant to live in community, in relationship with others. People may drive us crazy sometimes, but still we need each other. One is the loneliest number and all that. Now, some of us are born introverts. We replenish our spirits and souls best in the company of just ourselves and our God. In fact, everyone needs time alone, regularly. But in the same way, everyone needs to be in the company of others as well, regularly. Page 77. After turning his back on society and finding his way into the Alaskan wilderness with only himself as a companion, Christopher McCandless discovered that he missed the very people he was trying to escape. He became profoundly lonely. He realized that life was not meant to be lived alone and that happiness is only real when shared. Isn't it true? When something really good happens, we can't wait to share it. My mother, Stacy here, passed away 7 years ago. But in a moment of victory or happiness, I still think of her and want to give her a call to share the news. The same holds true with tragedy. When a crisis occurs, when the doctor calls with scary news, or when our world is shaken, we need the companionship of others. We need someone who loves us, who truly cares, to come alongside of us and share in our experience. As a woman, one of the best things about being married is this. The question, who will I go with, is forever answered. I belong to someone. I have a mate. We are a pair, a couple, a set. We are no longer single, we are a double. If we played bridge anymore, we would be a team. We have a tennis partner, a dance partner, someone to sit next to at the table, and a date for the rest of our Friday nights. We are a couple, we belong to each other. Two really are better than one in a host of ways. John and I have walked through some very hard times together, the death of dear friends, the loss of long-term relationships, many hospital visits, moving cross-country 3 times. We have also shared some really wonderful times too, traveling in Scotland and Ireland, speaking together at conferences, snorkeling in Mexico, realizing a lifelong dream of buying a ranch. And then there are all the in-between times, making the boys lunches in the evening, texting each other when we are out and about, saying our bedtime prayers together for 25 years. That's beautiful. But like you, we have also seen some really lonely years in our marriage. And to be lonely in your marriage is the loneliest feeling of all. Yes, it is. Page 78. Subtitle, And the Two Shall Stay as Two. When John and I moved to Colorado, Luke had not yet been born. Sam was just over 2 years old, and Blaine was only 9 months old. I worked part-time a couple of evenings a week, but John was the primary breadwinner. I spent my days at home, raising, nurturing, playing with, and caring for our boys. As a man, John was finding his place in the workforce, challenging himself, desiring to grow personally and professionally, as well as wanting to provide for his family. He worked hard and wanted to prove himself. After Luke came along, John went back to school to earn his master's degree in counseling. It was a great program, and I was 100% behind him. But he was really busy. He still worked full-time, traveling the country, doing conferences many weekends a year. He was given Mondays and Tuesdays off to make up for the weekends he worked. And Mondays and Tuesdays were spent at the university. On a rare day off, in much need of rest and refreshment, John would take our one car and go fishing. Spending the day on the water brought life to him. God was meeting him there. More than half of his days off were spent on the river, by himself or with a friend, not with me, not with our sons. It was common for him to be gone every day of the week for 3 or 4 weeks at a time. The longest stretch we went was 7 weeks in a row of John being away from home every single day. The pattern went on for 2 years. Can I mention again how young our children were? Are any of you women reading this irritated with him yet? Yes. My best friend sure was. Somehow in my heart I knew God was moving in my husband. I understood I had to let him go and not demand he stay home. When he was home, John was completely present. He engaged with our sons deeply, profoundly. They had then and they have now a rare and wonderful relationship. But those were hard years for both of us. I felt that John was running away from me. I was asked so many times by others, when is it your turn? Page 79. Countless times, well-meaning friends and family would speak of John with irritation and anger. I was even encouraged once to divorce him. None of it was helpful. None of it. Part of the problem at the time was the major issues in our marriage that needed addressing. My insecurity as a woman made me feel that I wasn't worth fighting for or standing up for. Somewhere along the road, I had lost my sense of self. I thought John was fabulous. I didn't think too highly of me. John had and still has strong opinions, distinct likes and distinct dislikes. He is incredibly hard to buy a present for. I'm that way. I've been told. Definitely have strong dislikes and likes and opinions. I had melted into not knowing who I was, what I liked, or what I wanted. If a marriage means the two become one, in my marriage the two became John. And that is not what God had in mind. The goal of marriage being oneness didn't mean the two become one person. It means the two separately become better people. Together. As Candace Bergen said, I used to believe that marriage would diminish me, reduce my options, that you had to be someone less to live with someone else, when, of course, you have to be someone more. But John and I were far apart in every way. Those were hard and lonely years. Looking back, I, John, see it more clearly now, why Stasi felt abandoned. Trying to make my way in the world, dogged by all those fears that I am on my own, pushing myself hard, I was gone an awful lot. Many young men feel this pressure, this compulsion to slay the wolf and the bear, to stake a claim. But in spite of those very real battles, the reality was I ran away. We lived very separate lives. But there is more to the story. For the first 10 years of our marriage, Stasi struggled with an eating disorder and with depression. To be honest, it felt like she had left the building. The alive, passionate, and opinionated woman that I had married was all but gone. Only she was still there, which was crazy-making. How can you be present to someone who isn't present? I'm not making excuses, simply filling in some of the story. Page 80. There are always reasons behind the choices that cause us to end up living in different worlds. The details may vary, but the story is fairly common. Despite our vows, our hopes, and dreams, most couples end up living separate lives. I gotta be honest, that does make him sound like a jerk in my opinion. She's struggling with some stuff and you run away. That's not offering your strength, John. And all under the guise of, oh, I'm taking care of the family, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, just my opinion. When the two of you spend time apart, what are the real reasons behind that? What typically happens is that both the man and the woman get busy. You go to work, you come home exhausted. If you have children, they get what is left of you before bedtime. If you are successful in work or in ministry, it eats you alive. If you are barely surviving, it devours your hope and energy along with your time. Then we all look for a little something to refill our cups, doing what we enjoy or just vegging out in front of the television. And our spouse gets the dregs. We end up feeling like two separate careerists in the same bed, as Wendell Berry described it. Picture the classic images from the movie Citizen Kane, haven't seen it, depicting the slow but inevitable dissolution of the marriage of Charles Foster Kane and his wife. The young couple begin their domestic life at a tiny table in the kitchen, sharing meals close together and very much in love. We did the same, eating off a card table loaned to us by Stacy's mother. Over time, as the tyranny of success creeps in, the Kane's table grows in size and we watch the couple grow farther apart. The final scene shows Kane and his wife at a massive dining room table the size of a hockey rink, seated at the far ends, taking their meals in separate worlds. By the time it occurs, their divorce is merely a formality. We walked to the brink of divorce again in our 10th year of marriage, when we were about as distant as two lives can get. We both looked over that precipice and we didn't like what we saw. By the grace of God, and His grace is always what's behind a good marriage, we began to make choices to move toward one another. And there's three movements, while we're on that. There's three movements. You can move toward, you can move away, and you can move against. It's the choices we make. Subtitle. It's the choices we make. Sitting around the dining table as a family last New Year's Eve, we have a round table now to keep everyone close and in the conversation, page 81, John asked a question. What was one of your best moments in the past year? The question did not come as a surprise to me. We do this every New Year's Eve. But when it came back around to John, his answer did. He spoke of a time during the summer when he and I had ridden horses together on our ranch, just the two of us, meandering through the aspens and the sage, taking in the mountain views. How rich, wonderful, and epic it had been. It thrilled my heart to hear that my husband's favorite moment of his whole year was a certain moment spent with me. It also provoked something. That time riding with John had been my last good experience on a horse. A month later, he had that bad fall that broke his wrists, and I'd been thrown twice. I wasn't liking horses so much anymore. Riding them wasn't too appealing. They scared me. But it was my husband's favorite experience of a time spent with me. It mattered to his heart. and his heart is something worth fighting for. It took me a while to get up the courage, but I found a woman who does horse therapy to get me over my fear. What happened in that arena with her and those 3 therapy horses in a little over an hour was miraculous, really. God came, and he took my fear, and I have gotten back in the saddle again. For my husband. For both of us, really. To be able to share with him moments that are glorious and minister to his heart builds beauty into our marriage and deepens our friendship, and boy, do I love that. So here's a simple question to ask yourself. What do you do simply because your spouse wants to do it? During the month of March, I, John, am glued to the television watching college basketball. During last year's March Madness, Stasi came into the room one Saturday afternoon and said she would like to go furniture shopping with me. I wanted to watch the Georgetown game. She wanted my help finding a few things for the house. Here is where the rubber meets the road. This is where companionship gets lived out. Guys, what would you typically do? A choice is going to be made, however else you might cloak it. As proof that the Holy Spirit really can change a person, I humbly confess that I chose to go shopping. Really. Okay, I admit it. It wasn't one of the final 4 games. Page 82. There was a particular store Stasi wanted to visit. It is one of her favorites. The moment I walked in the door, I was reeling. The place was an assault on the senses. There was not one free inch of open space on the walls, the shelves, or the floors. The place was bursting with frou-frou, tchotchkes, lacy this, antique that. My male survival instincts kicked in. Run! Get me out of this jungle. Yet another choice had to be made. I will stay engaged. I will not flee. I will not pout in order to get Stasi to cut this short. I ignored the scented candles and remained by her side, interested and engaged. We talked about which picture we liked better for the bedroom. We looked through catalogs and ordered a piece of furniture. We spent as much time there as Stasi wanted to spend. Oh, look at this. Isn't this darling? I knew that choosing to stay present in that moment with her was the way to say, I love you. I want to be with you. What matters to you matters to me. This is crucial, guys. It is not simply that you participate, but how you enter in. Stasi wanted my thoughts, my opinions, and she wanted to share hers with me. It was a fun afternoon. Truly, it was. Subtitle, A Word of Caution. Before we say more about finding genuine companionship with one another, let us put this in context. Both of you need other friends. Women need women friends and men need men friends. Far too often, especially in the early years, a couple will retreat into the bower behind the shining barrier, as the author Sheldon Van Auken called it, pulling away from even lifelong friends. This is foolish. You need the camaraderie of friends outside the marriage. We think a woman needs friends even more than her husband because a woman's relational needs are more vast than a man's. Guys can be happy watching the game once a week with some buddies. Women need to talk daily. Page 83. So fellas, I have always made it my mission whenever we have moved to a new city to do everything I could to help Stasi find some girlfriends. Every time she has ever asked to go out and do something with the girls, I have always said yes. And women, you can't pin your need for friendship on your husband. Many women try to. There are too many things you enjoy that he simply won't. Once they get married, many women expect their husband to become their best and primary friend. This is especially true if they have moved to another city or moved often, as military wives must do. It puts a pressure on him that he will come to resent. And men, there is nothing in your marriage that can provide you what masculine fellowship can provide. Do not give this up thinking do not give this up thinking that now you are married and you don't need it or that you must stay home. You need other men friends so that you can be a better husband and father. Here is the key. We want to be able to offer something to our spouses out of a full heart and not merely bring them our need. Your friendships help you to return home with something to give. As Thomas A Kempis said, without a friend thou canst not well live, and if Jesus be not above all a friend to thee, thou wilt be sad and desolate. In all seasons of life, let us remember that there is no friend like Jesus, so intimate, so unfailing, and we must find friendship with him above all else. Wherever we are, he is always there, the truest and most faithful companion you could ever have. Subtitle: Recovering Genuine Companionship. John has a circle of things he loves to do. It includes fly fishing, rock climbing, working on cars, hunting, reading, smoking cigars, and just about anything with adventure in it. I have a circle of things I love to do. It encompasses going to the movies, working in and enjoying my garden, talking, taking walks, worshiping, and reading novels. Oh dear, hopefully somewhere we can find some overlap. Page 84. I am also the mother of 3 sons. I live in a household of men. I love them passionately, but it can be lonely at times being the only woman around. Do some of you feel that way too? It isn't easy to find places to connect with them and to share in their lives. I don't play Xbox. I'm not a hunter. I'm not a rock climbing, mountain biking, backpacking, snowboarding teenager. Often I don't even understand them. I long for real relationships with them and have been praying for ways to connect. And John just gave me a ping pong table for Christmas. Ladies, I know what you are thinking. Doghouse gift, what a miss. But John knew what he was doing. My family had a ping pong table while I was growing up, and I spent hours playing with my brother and with my dad. Those are sweet memories for me, times a real connection with my family. The present of a ping pong table was an invitation to connect. Now I am playing with my sons and my husband. Team games, single games, it doesn't matter. Team games, single games, it doesn't matter games because we are spending time together doing something we all enjoy. Big sigh. Yay. I also love water. I love being near it, on it, and in it. Pools, ponds, lakes, rivers, streams, oceans, and even bathtubs. All of it. Diving in, putting my head under, swimming as deeply as I can, breathes life into me. I'm happy sitting next to a beautiful mountain lake. Yeah. Although good luck getting there. I don't believe in luck, but so the saying goes. I'm happier paddling a canoe on top of it, but happier still diving into it. We have found ways to share our love of water. First, John introduced me to canoes, those wobbly, precarious, silent crafts that can explore shallow channels and mysterious inlets. How many adventures we have had paddling around lakes, bays, and rivers. He got me into my first kayak. I was so close to the water I was sitting in it, but somehow still remained dry. I don't like kayaks. It was while we were kayaking as a family that we came so breathlessly close to a humpback whale, I felt I'd crossed back into Eden. Over the years, we have found other ways to build companionship. Page 85. We love to travel. Yeah, that would have been nice. Not while I'm homeless. We love going out for Chinese food. We share with each other movies that we like or something from a book that has stirred us. John loves the wilderness. We found a way to enjoy it together by using lodges. In this way, we can spend a day out on the trail, but at night, I get a shower and a bed. Yeah. And we still enjoy many of our loves alone or with other friends. There is no need to feel jealous that your spouse loves to do things without you. There is simply no way you can be everything to each other. Your hearts are too vast and your interests are too diverse for you to be one in everything. It would be weird if it were otherwise. And of course, you want your spouse to have a full cup, to be filled and happy and well. They will be so much easier to live with, and they won't be looking to you to make them happy. So good grief, do not fight their enjoyment of other things or other people. Sometimes I, Stacy, Would feel that I was in competition with John's close friends and other interests. How freeing to come to understand that that was not the case. The place I hold in John's heart is not up for grabs. But John had to reassure me this was so, and God needed to move in my heart so I could believe it. There is an ebb and flow to the companionship of marriage. During hunting season, I don't expect to see John much, but afterward, I do expect him to come home and re-engage with me. There are seasons when the two of us are connecting well, and seasons when we aren't. What you want to do is create an environment where over time and with intentionality, you are nurturing companionship. Every day is unrealistic. Once a month isn't often enough. Somewhere in between. This can feel a little awkward if it has been a while since the two of you spent time together. Initiate anyway, and don't be put off if your first few efforts aren't warmly received. A friend tried to get her husband to enjoy bubble baths. That was a miss. Watching American Idol might be a miss. Bass fishing might be a miss. But you are going to have to find some meeting place together. Tennis, beachcombing, Vietnamese food, a favorite TV show, Scrabble, square dancing. Do you ever read together? One suggestion, maybe you two could read this book together and talk about it chapter by chapter. Page 86. Maybe you should just ask your spouse what they'd like to do. Our suggestion is to explore this together. Find those intersections of life that you each enjoy and both can share. Subtitle, Can It Really Happen? Last summer, our son Sam was asking a number of people a question. He was doing a sort of personal survey. Do you believe there is one person in the world for you to marry, or do you believe that you could marry a handful of different people and be happy with them? There was an underlying fear to this, a lurking deeper question, which, if put into words, would go something like this. Is there one perfect mate for me out there? Can I miss the will of God and ruin my life by marrying the wrong person? What do you think? We believe the answer to his first question, the either-or question, is yes and yes. We believe the answer to his unasked deeper question is no. God knows who you are going to marry. When you do marry that person, your spouse becomes the one person you were supposed to marry. Yes, people make mistakes all the time. Sometimes people marry the wrong person. We have had good friends make this heart-wrenching mistake and realize it early into their marriage. But it was not a death sentence, not on their life or on their marriage. It really is true that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Romans 8:28. One friend Stasi loved deeply, was considering marriage. I warned her that I thought she was making a bad decision. I laid out my reasons why I thought so. They were valid, but she was certain and went ahead with the marriage. And by the way, once married, I became a strong ally for the marriage and for the man. She called me within the year to say that I had been right. She had made a mistake. Page 87. But then she said, and this shows the character of my friend, that she was committed to loving this man unto the man God wanted him to become, while allowing God to transform her into becoming the best suited wife for him. They have been married for over 20 years now. Yes, there have been hard times. The disappointments have driven her to a deeper intimacy with God, and she loves her husband well. They have a good marriage. There is no such thing as the perfect spouse. That is the fantasy weirdness of the Stepford wives. The best husband for you is the husband you have. The best wife for you is the wife you have. I don't know about that. You can marry fallen angel people. You can marry Nephilim. You can marry someone who's like a closet witch, warlock, or sorcerer. You can marry someone just for absolutely the wrong reasons. You can marry someone who's incredibly abusive. Consider Nathalia Crane's line in the light of our present circumstances. You cannot choose your battlefield. God does that for you. But you can plant a standard where a standard never flew. Nathalia Crane. Here you are. Make your stand. This is the man or woman whose heart you have been entrusted with. You really have no idea what depths of companionship are available until you venture into those waters and hang in there for many years. Besides, your own transformation is barely underway. Who knows all that God has in store for the both of you? We would say that at 25 years we are just beginning to understand. And that is the end of chapter 5. So as I just said, what the Lord has been showing me is that there are what he told me to call fallen angel people. There are Nephilim. There's definitely witches, warlocks, and sorcerers. And then, even if the person does not fall into any of those categories, they could be incredibly broken, shattered, and, hurt people. Broken, shattered people hurt people. And they can be incredibly abusive. And so, I just want to say that bottom line, who you marry as a Christian should be ordained by God. There should be supernatural revelations and confirmations that God has brought you two together, that it is his will for you two to be together. It is not God's will for you to be abused. And I'm not saying that at the first sign of problems to throw in the towel either, but everything you do, you should be deeply pressing in to the Lord in prayer. And with something as big as marriage and divorce and all that, you should definitely be fasting and really waiting on God, pressing into God. Excuse me. If you're not married yet, do not get married unless the Lord has confirmed that that is the person he wants you to marry. And if you're already married, bottom line, just everything you do as a Christian, you should be really asking God what his will is for you to do. And you should be seeking revelation. I mean, just this goes across the board, period, regarding everything in life. You should be in conversation and unceasing prayer with the Lord. You should be always seeking revelation. There's always things for Holy Spirit to reveal to you. And you, especially regarding your spouse, ask the Lord to reveal their character to you, their motives to you, their brokenness to you, their wounds to you, and, their free will to you. And what I mean by that is, yes, everything and anything is possible with God. Nothing is impossible with God. But if you're married, if your spouse or potential spouse is fallen angel people or Nephilim, they are inherently evil. There's no fixing that. Those people cannot be delivered. And then you've got witches, warlocks, sorcerers. If those people don't want to repent, don't want to change from their evil ways, and then again, putting all those categories aside, if you just have someone who's just very, very broken, and because of that they are abusive, bottom line, yes, God can heal them and deliver them and integrate them and blah, 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 but only with their free will participation. And a lot of people do not want restoration, inner healing, deliverance, integration. They don't want any of that. They're not interested. They're not willing to change their ways. They're not willing to repent. And that's what you have to ask the Lord to reveal to you about anyone you're going to be married to, or, if you are married to them or potentially married to. Ask the Lord to reveal all of that to you. Okay? Because just because someone may be, his seed as far as their DNA goes and whatever, and yeah, God can work miracles and heal and transform and all that, but if they're not willing, if they're just set in their ways and stubborn, if they're not willing to surrender to the Lord and make him Lord and seek after Jesus' mission statement of restoration, it takes two to tango. And so you can have one person in a romantic couple that is totally surrendered to God, willing to make all the effort, willing to participate, willing to humble themselves, yada, yada, yada. But if the other person is not, no matter how much success the one person has in transforming and maturing and healing and getting delivered and all of that, it may never work. It probably won't work if the other person is not also doing the same thing. Okay, so just food for thought, food for prayer. All right, I bless you all in the name of Yeshua, the Christ of Nazareth.